Hi students, a very good afternoon to you all. I hope you all are staying fine at home, following all the precautionary measures to protect yourself from COVID-19. Be safe at home, try to wash your hands as regularly as possible and maintain social distancing whenever you are going outside, and inform the same to your parents also. And students, as you are forming the village learning circles, please be careful that you maintain the social distancing between the students and inform them to wear the masks. So today's session is a little interesting session, which is to know about yourself and what is happening inside your body. Before moving into the session, I would like to narrate a small conversation between a mother and a son to you. A mother was busy preparing herself for the lunch. She was slicing the vegetables in the kitchen. Suddenly her son came inside and asked her, "Mama, why are you cutting down the vegetables or slicing the vegetables? Why can't you cook it directly like that? We will be eating it directly after washing." Then the mother said, "I will answer to your question, but answer to my questions first." "Ask me," the son replied. The mother told, "How do your teachers teach you the lessons in your school? Do they teach all the lessons at a time for you?" Then the son replies, "No." Then the mother asks, "What will happen if they teach all the lessons of the whole year in just 3 to 4 months for you?" "Mama, we won't be able to learn the things efficiently, and our brain also won't be able to absorb all the content and concept of the knowledge properly." Then the mother explains, the same way with here also. I am cutting down the vegetables or slicing the vegetables so that they can be easily digested by your body while we cook it. Do you know, child, whatever the food we are taking in, that has to be broken down into smaller pieces so that it gets absorbed into our blood and give us the energy whatever is required to do our day-to-day life activities. Then the mother asks the child, "How are your teachers teaching you? Are they breaking down your syllabus?" "Yes, Mama, they are breaking down into month-wise syllabus so that we can absorb it efficiently." So the same thing happens in our body also. Whatever the food we are taking, that is being broken down into simpler substances by the process called as digestion. The son replies, "Digestion? What is it? How does it takes place?" So today we are going to start our session about the physiology of digestion. How does the digestion process take place? What are the various steps involved in digestion? And what is the pathway of the food which we are taking inside? So today's topic is about physiology of digestion. What is digestion? Digestion is a thing which you have already learned in your previous classes from your schooling itself. You have learned it in your schooling, in your intermediate first year. It is a very general topic. So before moving into that, I would like to ask you a few questions. Once the food enters your digestive system, how is it broken down? How are these nutrients absorbed in the body? Try to think about it and try to find out the answers for these two questions while the session is going on, because the whole session runs around these two questions. So before knowing about what is happening in the process of digestion, let us take a look at the digestive system. The human digestive system, as you have already known it, look at the slide, children. It starts with the mouth, then it enters into the esophagus, which is a long pipe. The esophagus ends up in the J-shaped stomach, which will be leading into the small intestine, followed by the large intestine. This is all the pathway of the food which is being followed. Okay. Apart from this, there are few glands also which help in the digestive system. Can you name them? Yes, they are the salivary glands, the liver and the pancreas. So in this session, we will be learning how the food is moving from the whole pathway, that is your GI tract, and what is the role played by each and every part of our digestive system. So before learning that, we need to define what do you mean by digestion. Digestion is nothing but the process of conversion of the complex non-diffusible food substances into simple diffusible forms. Why did I use the words non-diffusible and diffusible over here? Non-diffusible means the food particles which can't enter into the blood streams, and diffusible means the food particles which can enter into the blood streams. So for us to get the energy, the food has to enter into the blood stream. So we are converting the complex molecules into the simple molecules in this process of digestion. Got it, children? So, we will be learning what is happening in each and every stage. Now, first let us take a look at the pathway of the food. How does the food move? The food first we put the food into the mouth. From there it is entering into our oral cavity. You all know what do you mean by oral cavity. The other name for is nothing but the buccal cavity. Then it moves into the esophagus, and from there it enters into the stomach. From there into the small intestine, and then there the last part of your digestive system, which is nothing but the large intestine, from where the last process of our digestion, that is the excretion, takes place. Now, we will be learning about each and every process what is occurring in all these parts and how our food is being broken down into simpler substances. So, before moving into this, let us know the steps in the process of digestion. The steps in the process of digestion are ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. You already know what do you mean by ingestion. In is something going inside. So, ingestion is the process by which we are taking in the food. Now, let us move into the second step, that is nothing but your digestion. Now, in the process of digestion, there are few chemical substances which are called as enzymes, which play a major role in breaking down our food. What does these enzymes do? These enzymes act as fastening up the reactions. To tell you, these digestion can be actually divided into two types, that is the mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. What do you mean by mechanical digestion? Mechanical digestion is a digestion which involves the breaking of the food into smaller units with the help of our mouth parts or with the help of the muscles. There is a physical activity going on here. Such a digestion is called as mechanical digestion. Where does mechanical digestion take place? It takes place in the oral cavity and in the stomach. Now, what is this chemical digestion? Chemical digestion can be defined as that digestion where the chemical change is happening in the food whatever we are taking. Whether you are taking the carbohydrates or proteins or fats, all those are converted chemically into other forms. In such type of digestion is called as chemical digestion. Chemical digestion occurs both in the oral cavity, stomach and small intestine. Now, in this chemical digestion, these enzymes play a key role. Now, what do you mean by enzymes? Enzymes are the proteinaceous structures which help in fastening of a reaction. You know that there are many biochemical reactions that are taking place inside our body. What do you mean by these biochemical reactions? Bio is something which is happening in living organisms, and chemical is something which involves the chemical reactants and the products. So, many biochemical reactions are happening inside our body. In these biochemical reactions, these enzymes help us a lot in breaking down the food. We will be seeing now how these enzymes work. Look at the slide, children. The enzymes which are the key role players. What happens over here? The violet color substance which you are seeing on the slide is the enzyme, and the red color substance or the red color part is the food that has entered into our digestive tract. You can see that there are active sites which are present on the enzyme. The food goes and exactly fits over onto the enzyme, which triggers the enzymatic reaction. Triggers means what? It starts the enzymatic reaction. And once the enzymatic reaction starts, you can see at the end picture in the slide that it is being broken down into two smaller units, which is in blue and green color. Why the color differentiation is being shown here is whatever the food that has come to the enzyme is changed into the other form by the end of the reaction. So, this is how the enzymes play a key role in the process of digestion. Now, what does these enzymes do? Look at the slide. You know that the main components of the food which we eat are carbohydrates, proteins and fats. So, what are they doing? The carbohydrates are converted into the simpler substances called as sugars. The proteins are converted into amino acids and the fats are converted into fatty acids. In between these two, you are able to see in the blue, pink and the green color boxes something written like amylase, protease, lipase. these are nothing but they are called as the enzymes. So these carbohydrates, when they come in contact with the amylase enzyme, they convert the carbohydrate into sugar. The proteases are being converted, the proteins are being converted into amino acids, and the fats are being converted into fatty acids and glycerols. So this is how the enzymes help in breaking down our complex food, that is the carbohydrates, proteins and fats into the simpler substances which are nothing but the sugars, amino acids, fatty acids and glycerol. So the enzymes are breaking down, that is the chemical digestion is taking place, because of which the carbohydrates are broken down into sugars, the proteins are being broken down into amino acids and fats are being broken down into fatty acids and glycerols. So this process of converting one component of the food into its basic or simpler substances is called as the chemical digestion. Now let us see how the digestion process is occurring in each and every part of our GI tract. First let us move into the first cavity or the first organ of the digestive system, which is nothing but the mouth, that is the oral cavity. What happens as soon as you take in the food? As soon as we take the food, we start chewing it, isn't it? So who is helping in chewing or the mechanical digestion? Try to find out, children. The teeth. The teeth are the structures which help in the mechanical digestion of the food. As soon as you ingest the food or keep the food in your mouth, what happens? The teeth start breaking them into very minute particles as much as possible, because you are having the 4 types of the teeth. What are they? The incisors, the canines, the molars and premolars, which break down and try to crush the food as much as possible into a soft structure. Apart from this, you are having glands called as salivary glands in your mouth. Do you remember, children, the salivary glands? What are the 3 types of the salivary glands? Just take a look at the slide, children. You are having the 3 types of salivary glands, which are parotid glands, submandibular glands and sublingual glands. Look at the slide, you will be able to know its position also. The parotid glands are exactly just below your ears, just a little front. You are having your submandibular glands just below your mandibles, that is your jaw, and sublingual gland, lingual means tongue, so they are below your tongue. So these 3 glands secrete a fluid which is called as saliva. You all know what do you mean by saliva. Daily we will be secreting saliva. Whenever you see the tasty food also, you start secreting saliva in your mouth. That is, it is a symbol to show that you are eager to eat that food. And do you know, per day we release around 1.5 liter of saliva. In a day, every human releases 1.5 liter saliva. So what does this saliva do? What is its function? This saliva helps in softening the food. While the teeth are chewing it, this saliva helps in softening the food and make it into a soft structure which is called as the bolus. This is all about the mechanical digestion that is taking place in the oral cavity. Now what is the chemical digestion? I have told you earlier that in the oral cavity even the chemical digestion is also taking place. So what is the chemical digestion part that is taking place here is, the saliva will be releasing an enzyme called as salivary amylase, or it is also called as ptyalin. Remember, children, P is silent here, so it is pronounced with T, ptyalin. So the salivary amylase, the other name called as ptyalin, helps in the digestion of the carbohydrates. The carbohydrate digestion starts in the mouth itself. Here the carbohydrates are being, that is the starch, the complex form of the carbohydrate, starch is being broken down into maltose in the presence of what? Ptyalin. Is it clear, children? Apart from this, the saliva also contains an enzyme called as lysozyme. What is that enzyme called as? Lysozyme. What does this lysozyme do? This lysozyme helps in killing any bacteria that is entering into the mouth along with the food whatever we are taking in. So what is happening in the oral cavity? First thing is, the teeth is breaking down or masticating the food into smaller pieces, and it is mixed along with the saliva to make a soft structure called as bolus. So this is the mechanical digestion. Chemical digestion in the saliva, salivary amylase is a enzyme which is present, which is breaking the starch, the complex form of the carbohydrate into maltose in the presence of a lysozyme. Enzyme also helps in breaking down the bacteria or killing the bacteria, so that the infection or that infectious bacteria does not enter into the next part of the GI tract. Now after that, where does the food enter? As soon as it has completed its part of digestion in the mouth, it enters into your next part. What is it? The next part is nothing but the esophagus. Children, look at the slide. You can see the peristaltic movements. You have already learnt about this, but still I will be explaining it clearly to you. Observe the slide carefully, children. The yellow color structure is the bolus which is being formed in the mouth. This bolus is the soft material which is formed after mixing with the saliva. Now how the food has to move down the esophagus is, the esophagus muscles will be continuously contracting, trying to push the food forward into the stomach. You know, the esophagus is connected to the stomach. So the food has to enter all through from the mouth to the stomach through the esophagus pipe. So these esophagus, the otherwise also called as the food pipe, will be continuously contracting, pushing the food forward till it reaches the stomach, and this movement is called as peristaltic movement. I will be showing you how this occurs. Observe this, children. Think that this is the food pipe. Okay. Now this is the bolus which is being formed in the mouth. Now as soon as the bolus enters into the esophagus, continuously there will be contractions in the esophagus muscles. So the muscles will be going on contracting as the food will be moving forward, and once the contractions come to the end of the esophagus muscles, you can see that the food comes out like this, or that is nothing but it will be moving into the stomach. It will be moving into the stomach. So the continuous contraction of these esophagus muscles is called as peristaltic movement. So because of this movement only, the food is entering from the mouth into the J-shaped stomach. Understood, children? What do you mean by peristaltic movement? So, and to understand, there is no digestion that is going to take place in esophagus. Esophagus just acts as a tube connecting our mouth with the stomach. There is no process of digestion that is going to take place, as it does not have any digestive enzyme over there. So we have finished with the mouth, we have finished with the esophagus. Now we have to move into the stomach now. What is happening in the stomach and what is the mechanical and the chemical digestion that is taking place inside the stomach. Now as you know, stomach is one of the important organ of the digestive system, and it plays a very key role. As soon as the food enters into the stomach from the esophagus, there is a juice released into the stomach. That is nothing but the gastric juice which is released from the gastric glands. Now do you know how long does the food stay in the stomach? It stays for 4 to 5 hours in the stomach. Now as soon as the food enters into the stomach, the first process that happens is, again the same peristaltic movements occur even in the stomach also. Then how does the peristaltic movements occur over there? The same way as in the esophagus. How the esophagus was contracting and relaxing its muscles, in the same way the stomach also contracts and relaxes its muscles, making or applying a force on the food particles so that they can be broken down into still more minute particles. Along with this peristaltic movements, there are many chemical changes that are going to take place in this stomach. You know that the stomach will be releasing gastric juice, which will be having the, look at the slide, children, which will be having the hydrochloric acid in it. Do you all know about hydrochloric acid? It is a very strong acid whose pH is 1.8. You have already learnt in your chemistry about the acids. So this is one of the strongest acid with a very low pH of 1.8 value. Now why such a strong acid has to be released into our body? The two main functions that are being done by the hydrochloric acid are, one function is, because of its high acidity, all the bacteria which is entering into our gut, that is into our stomach, is being killed away by the HCl acid due to its acidity. So it is removing all the microbes from the food. Second thing is, This HCl maintains or makes an acidic condition in the stomach. Why the acidic condition have to be maintained in the stomach is, in the stomach we will be having enzymes called as pepsin, and these enzymes can work very effectively only in the acidic condition. In the normal condition or the alkaline condition, these enzymes remain ineffective, that is, they does not work. So, to maintain that acidic condition, the HCl acid is being released. You all might have got a doubt, ma'am, you are saying such a strong acid this hydrochloric acid is, it does not cause any harm to our stomach wall or to our digestive tract. Yes, if there is no proper lining inside the stomach. Just take a look at the board, children. This is your stomach. You will be having a lining of mucus glands over here. What are they called as? Mucus glands. These glands will be secreting mucus into the stomach, which will be protecting these layers of the stomach. Otherwise, along with your food, even this mucus or this wall of your stomach will also get digested. And one more thing, how our body is protecting itself, or how the stomach is protecting itself from the acidic condition is, these pepsin or whatever the other enzymes which are present in the stomach, they will be acting only on the food that has entered into the stomach. Got it? The food is nothing but the substrate. You know that any reaction to take place, we have the substrate on which the enzymes work and the products are being released. You have already learnt in your chemistry about the reactions. Substrate will be present, which will be acted by the enzymes or other substances to give out the products we require. So, whatever this HCl acid is being released, it will be working only on the substrate but not on the walls of this stomach. That is how our stomach is protecting ourselves from the HCl acid. And one more thing you need to remember here, a common question which you observe in your day-to-day life. You will be saying that many of your parents will be saying that I have some acidity problem, I am having a burning chest over here. What might be the reasons for this? Children, look on to the board or look into the slide. You can see the esophagus is being connected to the stomach. You can see a narrow connection is there. Over there you will be having a sphincter. Sphincter is nothing but an opening which can be closed. As you can open the bottle of your cap and close it, in the same way there will be a opening over there. Whenever the food has to enter from the esophagus into the stomach, the opening will be whatever the sphincter is there, it will be open. Once the food enters into the stomach, the sphincter is immediately closed. Why it has to be closed is because these acidic condition or the acid which is there in the stomach should not move back into your esophagus. If it moves back into your esophagus, it causes a chest burning or a heartburn we say. Okay. So, if there is any problem in the opening and closing of this sphincter, you will be facing the problem of acidity. One more reason why we face the acidity is, generally we take 3 meals a day, or if they are kids, they will be taking 4 meals along with the snacks in the evening. Whenever they are taking these meals, you will be following a particular timing, that from around 8 to 9 we will be having the breakfast and 1 to 2 the lunch and so on. So, our body is having certain clock inside our body. Okay, they are called as a biological clocks. These clocks are like how you get after the every 1 hour you will be having a bell in your school to make you a note that the period is being finished. In the same way, these biological clocks give the hint to the body that between this 1 to 2 o'clock the food will be taken by that person and you have to release the gastric juice which involves the acid also. So, regularly you have made a timetable for the body that at this particular time you will be taking in the food. So, even though you take the food or not at that particular time, the body has organized itself to release the acid at that time. If you take the food, the acid works on the food, but if you miss the food or skip the meal at that particular time, it starts working on your walls, which will be creating a problem of acidity in your stomach. So, always try to take the food in the time. There may be a little difference of half an hour or 45 minutes here and there, but try to take it at a scheduled time, whether you are in the school or whether you are in the home. You are all staying at home now and you may not follow the same table which we used to follow in our Gurukulam. So, but your body is being adjusted in that way, so try to maintain the same timings. So, this is all about the acidity. Now, let us know about the chemical reactions that are taking place in the stomach. Okay. So in the stomach, as I told you, look at the slide children. In the stomach, we know that there are many enzymes released. Mostly the protein digestion takes place in the stomach because the carbohydrate digestion has already started in the mouth. You can see here in the slide that pepsinogen is a inactive form. Pepsinogen and prorenin are called as the proenzymes. What do you mean by proenzymes? They are the inactive form, and whenever they come in contact with the HCl acid that is being released in the stomach, they convert themselves into the actin forms, which are called as the pepsin and renin. So the two active enzymes in the stomach are the pepsin and the renin. So what are these two enzymes doing? These pepsin converts all the proteins into proteases and peptones, that is the intermediate form of the proteins. Before they are coming to their basic units called amino acids, they are in the intermediate stage called as proteoses and peptins. Now what is this prorenin activated renin doing? This renin is found only in the gastric juice of infants. Infants means you know the small children who drink milk, their major food is milk. So what does this renin do? This renin will be working out or showing its effect on the milk protein, which is called as casein. So this casein is converted into paracasein in the presence of renin, and paracasein will be working in the association with calcium ions. You can see in the slide that in the next reaction we have written paracasein plus calcium. So this paracasein in the presence of renin along with calcium ions is converted into calcium paracaseinate. It is also called as curdling of milk. Okay, the milk whatever we have taken, it is being curdled into a product called as calcium paracaseinate, and this calcium paracaseinate is finally converted into peptones in the presence of pepsin. So what are the two major enzymes which we are seeing in the stomach? One is nothing but the pepsin and the other is nothing but renin. These two play a major role in converting the proteins into their intermediate products, not the final products children. The final products are formed in the small intestine, which we will be studying immediately after this. So in the stomach, the major part of protein digestion is taking place. Apart from this, gastric lipase. Lipase is an enzyme which is converted or which is concerned with lipids. What are lipids? Lipids are nothing but fats. So a little beginning of the fat digestion takes place in the stomach. Just a beginning, it does not convert the major thing, but only a beginning of the digestion of fats takes place in the stomach. But the major part, it is the protein digestion that occurs in the stomach. So this is how the digestion is being finished. Remember it, I will just repeat it once. In the stomach, both mechanical and chemical digestion is taking place. Mechanically is the peristaltic movement of the muscles of the stomach, so that the food can be broken down still into very minute particles, and the enzymatic action is of the pepsin and renin, which is mostly involved with the protein digestion. Apart from this, I will be telling you one more thing which we experience in our day-to-day life. Whenever you eat some spicy food or some non-veg, you feel that your stomach is filled for a long time. But when you take a normal fruits, raw fruits or like juices or like watermelon, which mainly consists of most of the water, you don't feel that your stomach is filled for a long time. You start feeling hungry very quickly. This is because there are different timings or different periods that are being taken for the food to digest. If you take about non-veg, that is your chicken or the meat, whatever you eat, it takes around 4 to 5 hours for the digestion to take place. Whenever you are eating the vegetarian food, that is the fruits and the vegetables, it takes very less time, like 45 minutes to 1 hour or 1.5 hours, depending upon different types of vegetarian foods we are taking. So whenever you take the vegetarian foods, you feel that your stomach is a little light, that is you will be feeling hungry after a little time. But whenever you take something non-veg and masala food like your biryani, it takes time for your food to digest. So you feel that your stomach is full for a long time. And one more thing at this age in the students is that you feel that if you skip the food, you will be becoming lean and thin and look good and smart. But that is not true, children. Don't follow any things like dieting or skipping the meal so that you look good. Okay, eat the proper food and try to do the exercise as much as possible so that you give a good look and a good appearance. Because if you skip the meal, your cells in the body will be craving for it. Craving is literally like they will be crying for the food because they need the food to do the work. Okay. So, if you do not take the food and skip the meal, the next meal you will be eating more. So, that equalizes to the same thing. Instead of that, take the meals at the proper time and do the exercise so that you give a good appearance. Remember this children, this is commonly seen at this adolescence age, that is the reason I am focusing on that. Do not skip the diet or skip your meals. Maintain the meals as it is and try to do the exercise so that your body will be fit and you give a good appearance. Now, next let us move into the small intestine. This is one more important structure in our body. Let us look at the slide children. The stomach will be leading into the small intestine. You can see the three parts of the small intestine. What are they? Duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Duodenum is the connection between the stomach and it will be leading into the next part of the intestine called as jejunum. Look at the other side of the slide children. In the duodenum itself, there will be a common bile duct which will be released over there. Now, what is this bile duct? What is this pancreatic duct? I will be telling you. Try to focus on the picture children. You all know that liver is an important gland in our body. These liver will be producing a juice called as bile juice. This bile juice is an important juice which helps in the digestion of the fats. So, this bile juice is being stored in the gallbladder by the stomach, by the liver. Now, this bile juice will be entering into the duodenum through the green color pipe. Are you able to see in the slide? Called as a common bile duct, and this green color pipe is being introduced or it is being connected to the duodenum. At the same time, there is a pancreatic duct that is being released from the pancreas, which is a little bit orangish in color. So, this pancreatic duct will be carrying the pancreatic juice into the into the duodenum. So, both these ducts are joining at a point that is called as the hepatopancreatic duct. So, the bile juice from the liver and the pancreatic juice from the pancreas, both of them will be released into the duodenum, that is the first part of your intestine, that is the small intestine. Now, what happens from there? The food will be entering into the jejunum and then the ileum. Now, children, we have seen that the carbohydrate digestion have started in the stomach. After that, the protein digestion have started in the carbohydrate digestion have started in the mouth, protein digestion have started in the stomach. Now, the complete digestion of the all food materials takes place in the small intestine. There won't be any food left out to be digested. The complete digestion takes place in the small intestine along with the absorption process also. Now, let us look at the slide to know what are the various enzymes which are present in the intestine. You know that in the intestine we are having now the pancreatic juice, the bile juice and also the intestinal juice also. So, all these three juices complete the digestion of all the components of the food, that is the carbohydrates, the fats and the your proteins. Apart from this, the nucleic acids are also getting digested. We will be learning them now. Now, coming to the protein digestion that is going to take place in the intestine. In the intestine, you will be having inactive proteins which are called as the trypsinogen. This is the inactive protein, trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidases. These are all the inactive forms which get activated by the enzyme called as the trypsin. So, here the trypsin will be converting all these inactive forms into the active forms. That is, trypsinogen will be converted into trypsin, chymotrypsinogen is converted into chymotrypsin and procarboxypeptidases is converted into carboxypeptidases and aminopeptidases. All these three enzymes will be converting the proteins into their basic units called as the amino acids. Now, let us move into the other part of the slide, that is the carbohydrate digestion. Whatever the maltose, lactose, sucrose that were being formed in the stomach or in the mouth, they are being converted into their basic units by the enzymes called maltase, lactase and sucrose. They are converted into the glucose, galactose and fructose. Now, you know students, the food whatever we are taking also have the nucleic acids in it. So, this nucleic acid also have to be digested. So, who is helping in the nucleic acid digestion? In the nucleic acids digestion, the pancreatic juice is having enzymes called as DNases, okay, DNase and RNase, which will be helping in the degradation of them into the nucleotides and nucleosides. Nucleotide is a combination of nucleoside plus the base. So, once the nucleotide is being formed, it is being acted upon by the nucleosidases, which will be converting it into the sugars and bases. Now, the nucleic acid digestion is completed, the carbohydrate digestion is completed, at the same time even the protein digestion is completed. Now, moving into the fat digestion will be taking place with the help of the bile salts, which are released from the bile juice. So, these bile salts will be adding or mix up with the fat globules, and they will be forming structures called as micelles. Okay, micelles are the combination of the bile salts with the help of the fat globules. These micelles will be undergoing the further digestion in the presence of lipases, which will be breaking them into the fatty acids and the glycerols. Now, moving to the next thing, absorption. Now, we have finished with the ingestion, digestion. Now, absorption. Now, in the small intestine, the whole digestion process have been completed. And I forgot one thing, students. From the food, when the food is entering from the stomach into the small intestine, the acidic condition is being converted into alkaline condition, because all the enzymes in the small intestine will be working only in the alkaline condition. So, a lot of alkalinic juices are being released, which will be making the pH from 1.8, which was there in the stomach, to 7.8 in the small intestine. So, the next step is nothing but the absorption. Now, you know that the absorption also takes place in the small intestine only. Now, whatever the food that are being formed, that is the glucose from the carbohydrates, amino acids from the proteins, and the fatty acids and glycerols from the fats. All these have to move into the blood. So, this is nothing but the process called as absorption. Now, how does they move from the wall of the small intestine into the blood? Now, let us take a look at the slide, children. The glucose and the amino acids, whichever are formed, they will be moving into the small intestine through the active transport, that is the secondary active transport and facilitated diffusion. You have already learnt about diffusion in your physics and chemistry, that is movement from the high concentration to the low concentration. So, whatever the food particles that are formed, the glucose and the amino acids in the inside the wall of the intestine are being sent out into the blood through the facilitated diffusion and active transport. You know, active transport involves the ATP molecules in it, that is, it involves energy. But these fatty acids, they does not directly pass through from the wall lumen of the intestine into the blood. The small intestine is having a structure called as villi. This is called as the folded structure. Let us take a look at the slide. Look at these charts, children. These are the two charts, and think that this is a wall of the intestine. Here you can observe that it is a wall of the intestine is a straight line, that is, there are no villi in it, it is a straight line like this. And imagine that these are the food particles. See that if it is a straight line, only few food particles can be absorbed by the blood vessels which are attached over here. But if the intestinal wall is folded into villi like structure, like how we see in the small intestine, there are many food particles which are being exposed to the blood vessels. You can observe these two, children. Here there are few food particles, whereas here there are many food particles which can be exposed or which can be absorbed by the blood vessels. Now, take a look at the structure of the villi also, children. In the villi, you are having the blood capillaries and a structure called as lacteal also. Lacteal are the structures which will be absorbing the fatty acids. I told you that glucose and amino acids will be directly absorbed into the blood through the transportation system into the blood capillaries, but the fatty acids will be moving into the lacteals which are present in the villi. These lacteals are nothing but the vessels of the lymphatic system. The reason why these fatty acids cannot move into the blood is these fatty acids are larger molecules and the blood cannot allow the entry of these fatty acids into it. So, they move into the lymphatic system, and slowly the lymphatic system will mix up with the blood where it will be releasing the fatty acids, and further they are stored in the adipose tissue. So, this is about the absorption process. Now assimilation, the food whatever is taken by our body has to be used by the blood cells. So this is, can you look at the slide, from the digestive system through absorption it is entering into the circulatory system, and from there the body cells are assimilating or using it. And the last step in it is the egestion. There is a little difference between egestion and excretion, children, don't get confused. Excretion is the release of the liquid material from your body, that is the urine, whereas egestion is the removal of the solid feces that is formed after the digestion of the food material. After the digestion of the food material, whatever the waste material that is being left out, it runs all through the large intestine and it is being released out from the anus. Now you just take a look at the slide, children. It is a process of digestion in a nutshell. If you can take a pic of this, take it so that you can know the whole digestion at a time in a one single slide, how the basic food particles are being broken down, how the complex food particles are being broken down into their simple substances. The summary is, the digestion consists of 5 steps. Enzymes play a key role in this process, and complete digestion takes place in the small intestine, and absorption of the food takes place through the villi of the small intestine into the blood. And take a look at the project work, children. There are few questions that I have given you. What is the importance of villi in the digestive system, and what will happen why the acid which is able to digest, are the enzymes which are able to digest the meat which we are eating is not digesting the wall of your stomach. I have already told the answer while I was explaining you in the session. Try to recollect it and write it. And one more work for you is, try to give the example of a vertebrate whose elementary canal length changes according to its stages. And to end the session, there is a quote given by Nelson Mandela, who says that our economic approach to the food and its distribution reflects our basic moral values. What does it mean is, the way how you look the food at, the approach what you give to the food will be giving the moral values you show towards the food. That is, don't waste the food and try to save the food as much as you can. That is, don't just leave the food in your plates and try to complete the dish. Thank you, children.